sometimes they can tell that maybe they are in a specific mood, but the why that they will never, figure out exactly why it is, because we're such complex human beings in many ways that
Mhm.
we just can't it's impossible for us to know what's going on. And sometimes we think a look on someone's face is anger and it's just not. So that's why I think in many of those
Mhm.
cases,
Mhm.
I don't think we're even I don't think we're even figuring out exactly the emotion that's on. We just know that something's changed and maybe we're feeling what's inside us. Maybe we feel nervous about something. Maybe you're on a date with someone that you're nervous to be with, or maybe there's been tension in your relationship with your partner for a long time. And so anytime something negative happens, you just go to the worst place instead of
Mhm.
just like you said, which is a great point, that like just ask,
Mhm. Mhm.
and get some clarity to maybe have the chance at a better conversation.
Absolutely. And I think that this is one of the great things about therapy is like you're allowed to do these things that like, therapy like breaks typical social norms. Like we're allowed to do that. So it's
Right.
totally normal in therapy for me to say, I noticed you just sort of sat back. I wonder what's going on there. Um, so like, that it's one of the great gifts of therapy is you can break these social norms, but there's nothing that keeps you from breaking these social norms in regular life is too. Obviously pick your, I wouldn't necessarily do that when I was at a job interview. Um,
Yeah. Right.
but to be able to say, and oftentimes, what I find when I'm like breaking a social norm is like if I blame it on myself, it gives me permission to sort of do it, like, I know this is sort of weird, but I kind of like I get anxious about stuff. So, and people's reactions. And so like, I just noticed you did this. I don't know, some way of like putting it on you,
Right.
um, can be like a nice sort of it's a way to sort of socially lubricate the conversation. Um,
Gotcha.
but usually I do find though that if you sort of ask these things or bring these things up in terms of people's reactions or whatever, that like there will be like a moment of discomfort from the other person, like, whoa, this is weird. But then it's sort of like, oh, you're giving me permission to actually talk about my experience, so
Right.
that like people will all of a sudden just be like, oh, that's, they're like, oh, okay. And it's, and it usually does facilitate, it sort of like can take your relationship to a deeper level.